My name's Coryn Briggs. I am the founder of CB Wellness Lab. So lab stands for love and breath, the two things that sustain life. The philosophy of my practice is to teach through yoga-informed trauma and through life coaching. So often, we aren't present in our bodies. We're outside of our bodies. We're living either in the past or we're living in the future, and we're not present in our bodies. When we're in that state of being, it's really difficult for our bodies to be emotionally regulated. A lot of the work that I do is teaching people how to get back into their bodies, how to work through the trauma that's been lodged in our bodies. And we all experience trauma. Trauma is something that happens on a daily basis sometimes. We have trauma from our childhood, and a lot of the times that's carried through into adulthood. We're often not taught the practices and principles as young children, how to work through that trauma or how to be emotionally regulated. Most of the adults that I work with, they don't even understand what it feels like to live in an emotionally regulated body. So how do we do this? Through the principles and practices of yoga for trauma, through somatic work and through breath work and through yoga, I get you back into your body. I give you tools and resources to help you learn patterns and behaviors that you have that have kept you from living the life that you want to live, from being free of being tied to whether it's physical pain, emotional pain, sometimes there's even spiritual pain there as well. My journey in health and fitness has been over 20 years. I started out as a personal trainer. I worked in sports rehab. I was also a sports rehab conditioning specialist. Through that time, I worked with many people that had disabilities. I worked with elite athletes, and I grew up being a competitive athlete. So I learned the importance of modalities and therapies from a very young age, like physiotherapy, chiropractic treatment, massage, and sports medicine. 4 years ago, I decided I wanted to become a yoga instructor. I was always that girl in the back of the class that was really awkward. Even though I was an athlete my entire life, yoga was something for me that was really difficult. I couldn't get the pose right, or I couldn't get the breath right, and I felt really awkward in the back of the class. So I took my yoga teacher training. That gave me the confidence to begin teaching, which is not something I thought I was going to do. 3 years ago, my best friend's brother committed suicide. I knew at that point in time, there was more in me. I had more of a purpose. There was a desire to help people, a desire to bring more awareness to mental health and the effects that it has on our society. So I took my yoga for trauma teacher training. What I didn't realize is how much that would send me on my own journey of healing. After spending a lot of time working through my own trauma and working through a lot of my past experiences, it really brought attention to how dysregulated we are in our bodies. I started working with women's shelters, I started working in corporate settings, I started working with EMS, police, nurses, doctors, psychologists, and I started working with women that had birthing trauma. Some of them years, some of them even decades, teaching people how to get back into their bodies, teaching people how to live in a regulated body and what that feels like. Oftentimes we can't slow down enough to understand what it feels like to be in our bodies and to be present with our emotions and to be mindful and to live a mindful life. I also use these principles and these practices with my autistic daughter, which has been incredible to help her learn what it feels like to live in a regulated body. Yoga for trauma is for everyone. It is a gentle practice. It is something that we take our time going into. The slower we go, the faster we get there. So when we look at the principles and practices of yoga for trauma, I combine that with my life coaching that I call the 4 anchors of wholeness. So in the 4 anchors of wholeness, we look at physical health, your mental health, your spiritual health, and your emotional health. Through every one of those principles, We combine that with Yoga for Trauma, and we create a program designed for you. Through all of this work, I have been doing workshops and seminars and different courses. I had the absolute honor and privilege of teaching this past weekend at Revive Yoga Festival here in Grand Prairie, Alberta. It was absolutely incredible to be back in person with people, to be hugging, to be back in space and practicing with each other, to talk about the things that we needed to talk about, and to put words to the emotions that we've been feeling and to work through some of that. I would love it if you could reach out to me and share your story, if you have a story that you need to share. Yoga for Trauma is for everyone. It can be for the elite athlete, it can be for someone with a disability, and everybody in between. We do our best work when we are connected. My name's Coryn Briggs. I'm a Yoga for Trauma practitioner.
Namaste.